Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this next session that we are looking at here. Pretty dead, really, ever since we started the show this morning. Let's just have a quick look at the pivots here. Managed to boost up a little bit from those particular pivots. We took a trade earlier on, or at least set an order in the Nasdaq. I'm just going to bring up YouTube. We just set an order in the Nasdaq earlier on. I'm not exactly sure how that would have turned out, but looking at the FTSE, it may well have been the right decision to cancel that order, just because it doesn't appear to me that we've gone too far whatsoever in this particular one. But let's just have a quick look. There we go. Okay, what we got? FTSE's down there. Nasdaq is, well, would have got stopped out of the Nasdaq trade as it goes, and now it's kind of, I mean, it's still causing problems here. That you can see that these pivots are still causing issues. Went above the pivots, went above the daily pivot, looking almost like a buy area just above the daily pivot, but it's drawn people back in again, and we're back down again. So I suppose maybe we should be slightly more on the side, erring on the side of a buying opportunity rather than a selling opportunity. But I'm just checking the FTSE 100's statistics, and we've got actually a pretty positive day in many respects. 70% of the stocks in the FTSE are pointing higher. I've actually promoted some upside and some interesting names in those. Melrose Industries up 5.5%. So actually, a few of them are actually doing fairly well. Rolls-Royce as well, an interesting company, because it's just letting us know what the pandemic kind of situation is a little bit now. People are feeling about that. That's up 4%. International Consolidated Hotel, sorry, Intercontinental Hotels also up 2.5%. I'm just looking at the names that would mainly be affected by any situations with the coronavirus. International Consolidated Airlines also up 1.6%. And looking at some of the other names out there, Ocado slightly lower, so maybe an indication of a bit more confidence. EasyJet up 2.8% this morning as well. So it's suggesting actually that if anything, we should probably look into ease higher than short on some of these markets. But the picture isn't particularly clear or clean for the duration right now. Let me just double check something here. Hey John, how you doing, buddy? I'm just going to change my name here. There we go. Not sure where Geoff is, but he's not out. So where does this leave us? Well, let's have a look. Let's have a look. And we should probably have a look through, not necessarily just today. We need to look through a few charts and see what our plan is going to be. The ISM non-manufacturing PMIs. Now, this is going to be an interesting number in many respects. Forecast bang in line with the previous. So the forecast is expecting no growth whatsoever in the services. Oh, actually, sorry, no, my mistake. 56.3 over 56.9. So they're actually looking for a bit of a contraction. But you can see, since the pandemic, there has been some growth. Last month was slightly weaker, but over 50 showing expansion. And we need to understand what these numbers are and what these numbers mean. The ISM is the PMIs is the Purchasing Managers Index. So it's a basket of management within the industry that are showing what their orders are, showing what their supply and demand is effectively. So we can get a pretty good gauge on the US economy just by looking for supply and demand in the ISM numbers. Non-manufacturing kind of includes things like services and that would be hospitality and bits and pieces like that. So we are looking at a number that's slightly worse than expected. Hold on a minute. I think Jeff's forgotten about us. We're looking for a number slightly worse than expected. Maybe a bit of shrinking down than last time. But aside from that number now, that suggests that the market probably won't go too far unless that number is a really significant number. If it's showing some significant contraction, then I would be looking for some further downside. Any kind of expansion, we probably stay on the same trajectory where we're just easing higher, maybe banging our heads against some pretty tight ranges. Jeff's daylight saving got him. Hold on a second. There we go. All right. So Aussie cash rate. We'll have a look at the Australian dollar in a moment. Aussie cash rate. That's forecast to be left on hold. The statement will be important and interesting, I would have thought. Annual budget release as well, as Jeff said earlier. How anybody manages to navigate a budget right now, I don't know. ECB President Christine Lagarde is out on Tuesday. Now, what's she due to say? Oh, it doesn't seem like it's anything important. She's out twice. Fed Chair Powell as well this week. I'm not sure what he's due to say, but let's see if there's anything of US economic outlook. Actually, that could be something that people do potentially trade around. So we could be looking at Tuesday for something a bit more important. Christine Lagarde again out on Wednesday. FOMC meetings minutes. Now these are going to be quite important on Wednesday as well. So looking like the week could shape up for the back end of it likely to be more significant than the front end. And Canadian unemployment as well. So let's just have a look at where this might actually relate to some of the charts we could look at. Now we know the Aussie and the CAD are both in the news this week, and we've been looking at a few things with the Aussie. Well, firstly, let's check the Australian dollar on some longer term timeframes and see what it's suggesting from this particular perspective. Quite happy to go on the weekly. So at this stage, it does suggest that there could be some further weakness in the Aussie. Now that would mean some upside in the dollar, which I still think is possible. It looks like we're through this trend line. We've got a retest of that trend line. Now the question is, looking at this on a technical basis, do we have a setup? Now, the thing to note here is that if we do have a technical setup, we might actually get some kind of feel that, hey, Fad, how you doing, buddy? Jeff's on his way. Jeff's on his way. We might get some kind of feel that what people might do into the statement, So we got a few things out from the Aussie, so we might get an idea of what their stance is going to be into that statement, because it's an important statement. They obviously the number will already be assumed. So what's the daily telling us? Well, we got a few different indications here. We got a potential high test there, followed by one that looks like a high test, but it doesn't test the highs, but it's certainly looking fairly negative. On Friday, we had this kind of indecisive, it looks like a spinning top, and the spinning top is a bar that has a tail on both sides of it, and it's just kind of like it has the body in the middle. And with a spinning top, it really does show indecision. This is probably, people would probably confuse this as something fairly bullish, because you can see the tail is fairly long at the bottom, but it isn't really. I would look at this as more as a spinning top, where there's just a bit of indecisive trading going on in this particular area, with a gap lower as well. Gap higher. So we did gap up this morning on risk on sentiment. The 4 hour is showing us a head and shoulders. So actually, the information and the evidence is stacking up for a short in the Aussie dollar. If we look at the weekly right down to the daily, where it's indecisive, now down to the 4 hour, this is suggesting that we could actually get a bit of downside in the Aussie dollar. So what we'd wait for is some kind of break of an area. So now let's get into the slightly more detailed charts and see what that is suggesting. And the detail.
Good afternoon, mate, by the way.
Hello, buddy. How are you?
I told you that daylight saving would get me, and it did. It'll take me 2 weeks to get used to the bloody thing.
I love it, mate. You're really proud of yourself.
Man.
Here's my first day. I've been working really hard. Here's my well, that's all well and good, but you've actually got an appointment.
Yeah. Oh, and then, of course, somebody sent me a script that had to be edited, and oh my God.
Yeah. Well, you've done your best, mate. You're here, and that's the main thing. And then, to be honest, you couldn't have picked a better day to be late on. Which, to be fair to you, is one of the rarest things that you're likely to find in the world is Geoff being late for an appointment. So I think you're allowed a little bit of leeway. Yeah, I'm just looking at the Aussie dollar, mate. Obviously being over in Tasmania, I wonder what your thoughts on it. We've got the interest rate announcement now on Tuesday, I believe, and followed by some statements as well. And I was just looking from. And the budget, of course, the budget. I mean, what's the kind of thought about the Aussie dollar, with a loose fundamental view? Because what I'm seeing here is the potential for the market to sell into it. But we got the same issues. We got, weekly pivots and daily pivots and monthly pivots all stacked around, near and on top of each other, not really giving us a clear idea of direction. But certainly the price action is suggesting some further downside. But I'm just, it doesn't look like an area that I'd want to trade. Even here, even there, it looks like it's come through. And I've just taken the closing low here to go with a closing low here, and I've got a trend line break there and a retest. But even here, it looks like a potential short. Everything is.
The problem there, Ash, is of course you've also got higher highs and higher lows. Depends on which way you look at it.
Yes, you do. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I see what you mean.
And that's the challenge that we've got. At the moment, I think it's anything but clear, and I can make a case either way.
Yeah.
In terms of the fundamentals in Australia, I think everyone's like everywhere else. We're on kind of tenterhooks, thinking, what happens when the money runs out? Well, the money's run out just about everywhere around the world. We've been propped up by loans, as is everybody, and I think the people who are commentating on the economy have got very little idea, frankly, as to what happens next themselves. So, if economic experts are struggling to know, then certainly I'm not qualified to go and say, well, oh, gee, I think this is great. We're going to come out the other side fantastic, or look, we've really got problems. It's difficult to weigh that up versus whatever, every other economy in the world is in the same position. So I find it very, very difficult to draw a line through anything at the moment. The only thing I can probably hang on to, I suppose, is whilst ever China is ticking over, let's put it that way. I can't say they're booming at the moment. Whilst ever China's ticking over and looking like buying our resources, then the Aussie dollar has got a support base, I suppose, because of our resources. So
yeah. Do you know what? Well, after our chat last week, I had a look again to see if I could find any iron ore that was part of the COT report, and it's just not there. I mean, we got rolled steel. Eh? Yeah, there's some rolled steel in there. I mean, it's just about everything else, but no iron ore. I'm still quite keen on the Nasdaq for a short, and I might well take a trade here on the Nasdaq short. I think the timing might have been a bit off before, but it looks okay now.
Is it true
the Aussie CAD? Sorry, mate. Yes, you're absolutely right. I am showing the Aussie CAD. What's the Aussie dollar look like? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't love the Aussie CAD either, really. The Aussie dollar, let's see. But you are absolutely right. That is the Aussie CAD. Is it true that China's found the vaccine? I haven't heard that, actually.
No, I haven't heard it either.
Aussie dollar is also probably got some room to the downside, but actually it does give us a slightly different picture. Except that when we look at this weekly chart, still looks like it's poked its head through here. and it still looks like there could be some lower,
Mm-hmm.
in the Aussie and the Aussie against the dollar. What's this trend line up here? I'd be more comfortable in that particular area there, I think. Yeah, and again, you could make a case either way here. When you go to the 4 hour, similar-ish to the Aussie CAD, but as Geoff says, this is a lower low here, so maybe we are getting a lower high. Let's just have a look at this with some pivots. Same thing, isn't it? It's just all stacked and all over the place. It's just a bit of a mess. And I'm looking at the Nasdaq and thinking actually the short looks okay here, but it still doesn't. Looking in a bit more detail, still doesn't. And why would we bother taking a trade on a day like today when we just got no clarity? Look at this on the 4 hour charts on the Nasdaq. Just put in this, again, not a hammer. You wouldn't class this as a hammer because of where it is. We're sort of like we're back to kind of analyzing the what's the information here. People see this kind of bar and go, it's a low test bar or a hammer. Well, it hasn't tested a low. This is the low here, so it hasn't tested that. So is it a signal? No, it's not. This is a better one here, even though where it ends up isn't so good. But this genuinely tests a low here. So this is a signal that you can trade to the upside. This one you can't. It's just a bit of price action, which is just suggesting that people aren't willing to let it go any lower at this particular stage. But it still looks a bit heavy right now. There's the trend line there. So again, just no room to trade into. And nothing to go on, mate. It is that the market's got that Monday feeling about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's only Monday, mate. I think it's a case of we're in a position, just exactly as I just explained about the Aussie. I think we're in a position where the world is hanging on, going, oh, we've got Trump, we've got COVID, we've got Brexit, we've got all sorts of things going on. I'm not sure what to do. And I think the market is pretty much in that position.
Yeah, it does
that's
seem
what
to be
I'm seeing anyway.
That. Yeah, I agree
I'm
with that.
I'm seeing the good part about it, I guess, from my perspective, is we are seeing ranges form. Then we get little breakouts and they come back to the range. Occasionally you'll get a bit of a run. I don't think I'd be too keen to be a trend trader at the moment, but there are methods of getting in there as well. But I'm quite happy to be a range trader at the moment because I don't see the market as being clear in terms of a direction. What's the next direction? I see the Japanese yen for the last 2 weeks been strong. Then it falls out of the sky. So we're going risk on, risk off, risk on, risk off. Look, I don't think it's just Monday, but it's definitely Monday today. I'm definitely seeing that. But the bigger picture is not giving me anything that really is saying, look, here's the best currency that you should be trading at the moment. Here's the worst that you should be avoiding at the moment. I'm actually not seeing that, which is a little bit frustrating. But then I just go back and have a look at the charts. And if I see a nice little rectangle or a nice little triangle, then I'll be looking to trade from the top to the bottom of those. So it's kind of horses for courses. And I think this particular course at the moment actually suits me. So I'll be looking forward to getting into the market this week. But I've got to see some movement first. I've got to see some volatility and some volume before I start jumping in, because I think and going further with that, and we had a good look at the pound this morning and refused to trade it because it was very much tied up in a pivotal situation. And what I mean by that is the pivots, and this is the story of the day, and we've spoken about it more than once in the UK show. The pivots are in very, very close proximity to each other. That again suggests that we are in ranging situations. But the issue is price is stuck in the middle of all three of them on a lot of occasions or in a lot of circumstances today. So that makes it very, very difficult as well, because if you go long, you're trading into the weekly pivot. You go short, you're trading into the daily or the monthly pivot, without any profit in the bank. And that's a real challenge. You can take the risk of breaking that resistance or support, but it is a risk. So I don't see any point in adding to the inherent risk that you've got in trading in the first place by taking on those very difficult situations.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. I totally agree. And I think the discussion that we'll have in the US show is going to be price over setup and setup over price. It's really important, I think, to kind of understand the two aspects and what they're telling us. Dennis, just jumped out your HK50 short. You're right about what you said today about it going nowhere fast. Yeah, it looked like that to me earlier. And I'm glad you jumped out of it. Not I'm glad you jumped out of it. I'll be happy if you jumped out of it and you would have effectively kept your money in your back pocket because you ended up not trading something that wouldn't have made money. Obviously, there's going to be times where I'm looking at the market reading one thing and something else completely different happens, but it certainly appeared to be the case today. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think the two of us have probably looked at this market and said, this is the environment that we're in. So there should be a way to make money out of it. And I, the difficulty is, the way I see this market is that if you're a range trader like Geoff, then this kind of market is absolutely brilliant, but only if you go down to very, very short time frames. And I'm literally talking the 1 minute chart.
Oh, hang on while I put my heart back in my chest.
Yeah, I mean, because you wouldn't want to trade it otherwise. Because look at this on the Nasdaq, and I'm not, this is the thing about this. I'm not advocating this at all, and I don't trade the 1 minute chart because it is a road to some very difficult trading errors, and But if you look at this on a 1 minute chart, then just from what we've seen now, earlier on we were looking at this. Let's just mark this off. Earlier on, we were looking at this and saying, well, there could be a trade up or down. Now, when you look over here, this is a sell zone in a way, because you got the previous high. So we've got tight ranges here, and if it comes down to the low again on the trend line, it's a buy zone. And if you were to sell here and you were looking at your 1 minute chart, then your first indication, if you kind of follow the same ABC, if you like, break and retest and all that stuff, you get your trend line there. Slog along there somewhere. You may well trade that bar. You may well wait for it to come back and trade this one here. But you can see that there are trends that are happening on the 1 minute. Now, this is because every range is a trend and every trend is a range. So on the 15 there's a range, but on the 1 minute there's a trend. So if you're looking to be a scalper, then this kind of environment is actually pretty good. Looking at this, looking at these charts here, but you could get in all sorts of trouble if you trade in the wrong way. Let's say you take a trade here. Or even you take a trade down here or something. Maybe you take this bar here, trying to trade a scalp, and you'd have to have tight stops. Then you get taken out. But obviously,
then you try and chase it, and
yes, yeah. But if you manage to trade this one again, that area is about 5 pips plus spread is going to be about 8. And you get down to 16. So there are opportunities on these shorter term timeframes, but that's the only place you're going to find them. It looks like the opportunity here is on the shorter term time frame again to the upside. I mean, we'll see if that would have worked out. But if you're just looking, a chart is a chart is a chart. Everybody agrees with that. Doesn't matter what time frame you're on. You get some kind of trigger bar here that you can trade up. Then you take the trade above it, wherever that would be. I have to wait a few seconds for the bar to form, but you trade above it with a stop below it. Then you haven't got to get too far before you make him, and these are the perfect. I mean, that's 30. That's 30 to the upside, and it's around about 7-ish. It's about a 4-to-1 trade. You know, it looks like there's no opportunities, but I suppose what I'm saying is, depending on what kind of trade you are, there are always, there you go. There's a trigger there. Okay, so you be triggered in if it breaks the top of that bar, and your stop would be at the low. Your target would be at the high there probably. You may want to take profits in a different way. In actual fact, you'd probably want your first target here. But even that is a trade. I mean, you know, it's one of those, isn't it, mate? That if you were so bored with what was going on, then you can find trades. You can always find a trade. There's always sort of like something to do, but it's just not good practice to be flipping between lots of different kind of ways into the market. But you know, it's one of those things. I suppose my point is that if you can recognize what kind of market you have, if you're the type of trader that just says, right, my first point of call is that I need to recognize what type of market I've got, and if I can recognize what type of market I've got, then I can make money. And in a type of market like this, then you'd be going down to very short-term timeframes because there's just no liquidity. The alternative, of course, is to go to very, very high time frames, and because of the lack of volatility, knowing that over time that's going to pick up. But the high time frames just aren't providing decent areas to trade from, except maybe the dollar. You know, I'm looking at the dollar and thinking, well, dollar Swissy is a buy in my opinion, and not in a bad zone. The euro dollar is a sell, but not in a bad zone. But again, you know, we'll talk
might
about
have a trade on that shortly, actually.
Might on the euro dollar. Fantastic. Okay,
it's not there yet, but maybe later.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it is just that kind of environment, and after you'd only be able to trade this kind of thing. You'd only be able to trade a minute chart after you've done the work on it. As I said, you know, the trading psychology means that you have to do a decent basket of tests before you trade this kind of thing. Now, I haven't done that basket of tests, which is why I wouldn't take this trade. All I'm saying is that you can recognize patterns no matter what time frame you're looking for. And if you can recognize patterns, then you can say, well, this is what the pattern is currently suggesting. You know, there is actually a trading opportunity no matter where, you know, when you trade. You'd be triggered in now, and yeah, so you want to take profit at this point to start with, and then possibly up there. But difficult day, mate. Difficult day to kind of to take a trade if you're on anything probably less than over a 15-minute time frame. I don't think it's possible otherwise.
Yeah, look, I think we do get kind of bogged down in saying it is a difficult day to trade. I don't think it's difficult at all. Just don't do it. But yeah, you know, that's also not why we're here. We're here to give you guys an idea of what is possible on a day like today, and I think we'll exhaust
there
that.
Stopped out.
Sorry?
Stopped out on our 1 minute trade there.
Oh, right, okay.
Not that we took it, but
no, you had an imaginary one.
Yeah.
I used to call them thoughties. We used to have naughty thoughties.
Oh yeah, well, that would be a naughty thoughty on a 1 minute chart.
Yeah, but you know, I think we'll exhaust our potential here in the US session fairly quickly, but you never know what might happen when the US opens. We've still got news to come as well, so that may yet give us an opportunity. I think I've got a potential on the euro versus the dollar, and we'll have a look at that in detail in just a tick. We've got to get out of here, mate. Am I going to be able to play music, or do you need to give me control, or what's the go here?
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, you just need to grab the screen, mate, and you can play the music.
But I don't think I can stop the stream.
Oh, Mai will do that. Mai's in with us.
Yes, I can do it for you.
Thank you,
Hello,
Mai.
Mai. Thank you.
Hi, you're welcome. I will stop the live stream now.